and thank you all for coming. My name is Bill Schramm. I am the Director of Operations for Downtown Colorado, Inc., and we are thrilled to have a couple of our great partners with us for a conversation I've been looking forward to for a little bit, using technology to experience place. DCI is certainly focused on improving downtowns throughout Colorado, and so much of that is placemaking. And with the advances in technology and ways of being able to communicate with our uh, residents and stakeholders and shoppers and all the different folks that traverse our downtowns, we have some pretty cool uh, use cases here at Colfax Avenue. And I'm eager to hear from Hello Lamppost on how they're able to solve some of those challenges. But briefly about DCI, wanted to share this with everyone here that DCI is a 40, almost 2 year old now nonprofit organization focused on downtowns throughout Colorado. We provide advisory services, educational events for boards, strategy sessions, advocation, advocacy, and information for legislative efforts for our communities. And we really focus on business improvement districts, downtown development authorities, URAs, and the stakeholders that benefit from that. And lastly, we have a Colorado Challenge program, which takes communities throughout Colorado that might have a site that is of a particular challenge, turning that into an opportunity and helping them along the way. And like I mentioned before, our focus is really on placemaking, and this quote really does a great job of capturing how DCI looks at communities and our role. And we know that people are longing not just for a place to live, but also to love. And this is from Peter Kageyama's For the Love of Cities. And I think that really represents the magic of downtowns, because downtowns are notable throughout the country, just as much of a brand as any major company. People love the opportunity to participate with downtowns. They make it a point to travel there, to shop there, to meet their friends there, to have community there. And so any effort that we can provide to continue to make downtowns a place that people love really is something that benefits all of us. And I think that the discussion today is going to be along those lines as well, talking about some new ways of being able to do just that. And lastly, this is another example of some of the programs that we provide for you. And if you have any questions about DCI after the call, please feel free to follow up with me. And with that, I'll go ahead and stop my screen share and turn it over to Frank Locantor, who's the director of Colfax Avenue Business Improvement District. Frank, thanks for joining us today. Oh, give me a sec, Frank.
All right. So you can hear me now?
Yep.
And now, and okay, there we go. I'm moving. Excellent. Got the slides all. Hopefully you see the slide that says how people experience place. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Hit Control
Fantastic.
L real quick and you can expand that.
Control. Is it not filling up a screen? Is that what you're
It,
saying?
yeah, there's the border around the outside.
Oh, gotcha. Is Control L
Yeah, it's a
what
shortcut
Macs
for
do
that.
too? Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yep, now we're good.
That worked. All right. Fantastic. Thanks, Bill.
Mhm.
Hi, my name's Frank Locantori. I'm the executive director for the Colfax Ave Business Improvement District, and we are downtown adjacent to Denver. So we begin at I guess I should have. Okay, here's some housekeeping of muting. We'll have questions at the end. The session's being recorded. Bill, I think you might have said all of that stuff. And I along with sharing with Bill, I am sharing the presentation with Isabel, who will be up in just a moment. Um, and all right, I think I've got the slides caught up now in terms of the role of technology. But our bid is, as I said, downtown adjacent. It's a mile and a half long, 2 blocks wide, 14th to 16th Avenue. You can see the kind of lit up dome of the state capitol, which is basically one end of our border. And then we head just about to East High School at the other end. We've got about 350 businesses within our boundaries and about 120 plus on Colfax proper. We're a small and nimble and mighty a bid. We've got a total of 3 staff. One of those positions is open right now. I'm the executive director. Our operations director runs the whole street operation stuff, and then our business and communications director position is currently vacant, and we will be putting out a job description shortly. In addition to that, we've got a 3-member Clean Street Ambassador program that's keeping the Colfax as clean as possible. And we're doing all this with almost $1 million budget annually. Now, I think it's really helpful to explain kind of like our size because, it's probably not very different from many of the organizations on the call. And so we've struggled with, boy, wouldn't it be great if we had another $1 million where we could have like ambassadors on the street that are, not just cleaning the street, but providing information to folks and gathering input. But the reality is we just don't have that. Um, so the ways that we have done engagement has been through our events, and basically, getting the opinions, and surveying people that come to different things, and also social media. What's held us back is, but our budget, our size, it's just a very difficult thing to be able to afford for the most part in a meaningful and ongoing way, I should say. So it was maybe about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, where we got turned on to Hello Lamppost, and I just kind of like loved the name right from the beginning, with the hello, is very engaging. But then my colleague who did a lot of, some investigating and then talking with Isabel and folks at Hello Lamppost really seemed to be the right tool, for us. So, this gave us a way to really be able to then start doing the engagement that we wanted to do in a manner that we could afford. So I think this is where I turn it over to you, Isabel. Is that
Yes.
there
We
you
can
go?
actually go back to the
Yeah,
slide
let's go back to it.
if that's okay. Thank you, Frank. Thanks for that background on Colfax. So my name is Isabel Los, and I head up all of our US projects for Hello Lamppost. As Frank kind of mentioned, got in touch with Colfax, yeah, probably maybe even a little bit over a year ago now at this point, and it's been a great relationship and a great kind of project to be a part of. But thank you all for being here today. I want to start with that. I know a lot of you on the call I recognize and I know, and I maybe personally urged you to join. So thanks for taking the time. And to those of you that I don't, it's great to meet you. So yeah, I'm here to talk about Hello Lamppost as an example of a technology that's used in public spaces all over the world. We're actually originally a UK-based company based in London, but we have projects here at home in the United States, all the way over to Australia and in between. So very wide-reaching, but focusing in here on kind of downtowns and business improvement districts specifically. I would guess that you likely all have pretty similar goals to make sure that everybody who comes and spends time in your downtown or in your district has the best experience possible. And that is our goal as well. So our mission as a company is to make places better for people. And we think that by giving people more information, making things more easily accessible and giving people more chances to engage and share their ideas and feel part of their community as all a really big part of how we can do that. So the root of what we do is communications and engagement, both being able to share information, so provide resources and provide education to people, and then also asking questions to gather feedback and ideas from folks. So it's this bringing of the communication and opportunities to engage out into the physical world, hence our name, Hello Lamppost, bringing it into your downtowns and bids to reach the people that you want to reach in the places that they're already spending time. So the way that we do that is by, and you'll see this illustrated more when we kind of dive into the case study with Colfax, but just to give you a lot of informational background. You can stay on this slide, Frank. I'll let you know when to switch. We activate existing infrastructure, so landmarks, locations, statues, benches, whatever it might be in a downtown area with signage that invites people to participate in a chat conversation. So as people are out and about exploring the area, they can pull up this chat on their phone, and it's all automated, so you don't need to worry about staffing the other end. And it's well equipped, because what we've done is preloaded it with all sorts of information specific to the district that we're working with. So business directories, event calendars, all the questions about parking, public restrooms, amenities, directions, so that people can ask any question and get an instant response. So it essentially becomes almost like a downtown ambassador, like Frank mentioned, that is available 24/7, 365 days a year in any language to be an amazing resource for people. If any of your downtown ambassadors are fully fluent in every language, I digress, that would be incredible. But I think that has been a really useful way of widening the conversation to more people. And at the same time as all of this information sharing is going on, it's also as if your downtown ambassadors were running surveys at the same time alongside kind of the information and resources. So whenever people engage with our system, that's all coming into the back end. So we can weave in all sorts of questions to learn anything that you might want to know. Maybe it's what brought you downtown? Are you a resident or a visitor? What would you like to see more of here? But beyond that, just simply having Hello Lamppost activated there and tracking interactions and noticing what questions people have, what they're looking for when they engage. It's essentially a constant stream of new information coming in that can then be used to make sure our partners, our organizations are allocating resources, staff time, and planning, marketing and events and everything accordingly to really meet the needs of the community and ultimately be more efficient. So again, it's giving people, everyone, right? Residents, visitors, whoever's passing through, both that super easy access to information and then a communication channel to share their thoughts. All right, I'm ready for the next slide now. Thanks, Frank.
Great.
So I think traditionally community engagement can take a lot of forms, right? And I think everyone kind of has a different idea of what that can look like, but maybe it's public meetings, community events, surveys, tabling, Zoom meetings. There's a lot of ways to try to reach and hear from people, but I think overwhelmingly, they pose a lot of barriers to participation, and they take a lot of time and effort and really might just reach kind of the same small group of people over and over again, rather than bringing new voices into the conversation. I know there's also a lot of interesting options and other technologies that some of you may be using, where you're able to get some information from people based on cell phone data. So while that is, I guess, a little bit creepy. Also really cool, lots of information there, but also it's largely very quantitative, very numerical. So maybe number of people in a location, but doesn't really illustrate too much beyond that. And then as far as social media, I'm sure lots of you are using social media to kind of get the word out about your downtown and your services. You likely have social media followers, newsletter subscribers, the people who are checked in, they come to your events, they're in the know about what's going on. But in a downtown space where there are so many people who are maybe just passing through, just there for the day, or maybe visiting for the first time, how can you reach those people? How can you make them a part of your audience and then be able to encourage them to spend some time downtown, enjoy a meal, go shopping, come back again in the future? So when we talk about how people experience places and the role that technology plays there, I think this is where it can really come into play. And this is where Hello Lamppost can really change things up in the way that it meets people where they are, rather than always asking them to come to you in various capacities. You can head on to the next slide, Frank. So a tool, I think we're on solution now. Can you go back one?
Oh, what's going on here? Okay, there we go.
Thank you. So a tool like Hello Lamppost, I think, kind of going back to Frank, your earlier point about just limited capacity with staff and budget, that is very real for a lot of the partners that we work with. And I think Hello Lamppost can be a really great way to widen the reach at a very large scale, from both a marketing and an outreach perspective to that kind of feedback surveying perspective, with really relatively low effort, low cost. So as far as accessibility as well, kind of going back to that, our conversations are very low barrier to entry. So again, when someone's out and about, they're walking around downtown, they see one of our signs, they have two options to engage. It's either a QR code. So if you have a smartphone, you just scan it and it pulls up your web browser on your phone, a chat window. If you don't have a smartphone, you can just send a text message to a number that we have listed there on the sign. Just pulls up regular text messaging on your phone and you're in texting back and forth, just like you would with a friend. So we have both of those options, just in case somebody does not have a smartphone, they can still participate in the same way. But regardless, you'd never have to download an app or create an account or enter any personal information. So it's very in the moment and very simple to use. That's definitely always the goal, is not making it complicated so that people of all ages, all backgrounds can participate. And then of course, since it is on 24/7, that will help reach new audiences as well. So the early risers, maybe the late night crowd, everywhere in between, really acting as an extension of your staff to be in the places that you can't be, and constantly promoting everything that there is to see and do, and everything that the area has to offer. From a data perspective, Hello Lamppost, I think, really opens the doors to more of a narrative of qualitative data that is pretty unique, to tell more of a story and really gather honest feedback and allow new ideas to come through that you maybe never would have thought of. So by making this process more conversational and asking more open-ended questions, there's so much to learn from your community and your audiences if you're able to listen and then actually use what you learn to make decisions that make a difference. So it really all comes back to making places better for people, right? We want residents and visitors to have the best experience that they possibly can when they come visit a district. And by providing that easy access to information and chances for meaningful engagement, they'll have a better experience because they'll have the resources that they need and be well informed of everything that the area has to offer. The members of, if you are a business improvement district, your local businesses, right, will benefit from everyone having this information, more exposure, more foot traffic. And then, of course, the organizations that we work with as well benefit from just time saved on marketing and outreach to the community engagement and gathering feedback, and then being able to make changes by taking what is learned from the insights and information gathered to inform plans and decisions to shape the future of the district in a really positive way. So the goal is this kind of continuous feedback loop that's kind of a win-win for everyone who uses these spaces. That was a lot of information about Hello Lamppost, but let's talk about how it's implemented in Colfax.
All right. Thanks, Isabel. So we just outlined the basic, the kind of constraints that we have, organizations like ours that have on our capacity. And so can we kind of find workarounds for that? And in this case, using technology. So what's one of the great things about this from our perspective anyway, is that it is just getting the average person on the street to kind of take notice, look up, see this sign. We've got these types of signs on our lampposts, and we've also got the stickers on the sidewalk. Um, so for people who are looking down at their phone and then they see something scroll by their feet on the sidewalk, it's a great position for that too. So folks that are just walking on the street, we're very residential. That's our primary audience. It's a really good way to engage, with folks. We also have people traveling into our district from elsewhere. And so as they're walking by, it's good for them to get a sense of what's beyond wherever it is that they're going, the 303 board skateboard shop, just to know that a block in either direction, there's Voodoo Donuts or a calzone place or a coffee place or whatever, being able to expand their horizons without anybody being there to talk to them, or without reaching out to them very directly. What's also really great from our perspective is that we're working to put these as close to bus shelters and stops as possible, because the bus commuter uh, uh, um, contingent is not one that is often reached. And so it really helps us, where we've got bus rapid transit that is about to be built on Colfax, to be able to get the sentiment of bus riders as opposed to just people that are living in single family homes in the neighborhoods adjacent to Colfax. So we're able to get a variety of different communities, ages, occupations, modes of transit, et cetera, whoever is on the street. And then we're able to have these conversations with them and let them know about what we're doing. But we're also able to gather feedback from them of who they are and what's important to them and how safe do they feel on the street, et cetera. So this map gives you a little bit of an idea. So you've got Civic Center Park is the green to the left of your screen, and the state capitol is, right there as well. And then to the very right, you start to see the Tattered Cover Bookstore, just past Josephine. So, and East High School there. So that's the span of our district. And I mentioned we go 14th to 16th, but we've really been focusing these signs on Colfax proper. Now, and so the colors differentiate. Did we put them on a light post, LP, or are they on the sidewalk in the lighter green or teal color there? And one word of advice for you is that if you're going to do the sidewalk ones, wait till the warmer months. We've done it a couple of times, and when we've done it in the warmer months, they don't come up for years. But when we do it in October or a cooler month in November, it's really tough for them to stay adhered to the sidewalk. So this is the little bit of the spread that we've got with those light posts. So, it's been, I honestly, I haven't dug into all the data in a very deep way, but I'm really looking forward to that. But here's some really great information. Over 57% get to our Colfax businesses by walking, and nearly another 29% travel by car. So this is really great, right? The perception is out there of like, as a business, I need parking, I need parking, I need parking. Otherwise, nobody is going to, otherwise my business is going to fail. Well, our business improvement district is dead center in like the densest community in Denver. There's 25,000 people that live within a 5 to 10 minute walk or bike ride of Colfax. So to me, those numbers aren't all that surprising. But it really helps with the businesses and how to help them with what we can do better in order for them to reach their customers. And then we've got other questions, how safe do you feel? How clean, is the street? All of this information gives us, in this first year anyway, it gives us a baseline of the public sentiment. And then we can be measuring in future years of like how we're changing and hopefully getting better. It's also, how are people feeling? What are the positive sentiments? And, again, generally not too much that's surprising here. We really know that people love Colfax and what it has to offer for them. And we also know that people have safety concerns. And really, where those concerns are is in pockets. It's not throughout the entire corridor. And that's something that will be interesting as our partnership develops with Hello Lamppost, how we might be able to really dial in the sentiment based upon the area where people are uh, filling out or answering the questions. And then we get to like, what are we doing well, and what do people like, so that we can do more of it, and so the diversity in the social life is clearly something that is appreciated in the area. The entertainment, we've got the Fillmore Auditorium, the Ogden Theater as two big ones, but then we've got smaller places that are also doing live music, like the Lion's Lair. And if you talk to anybody about, Colfax and how they would describe it or what they like, they might say quirky, but they'll say gritty as well. They like the character, they like the kind of like self-made attitude, for the area. And then safety and negative experiences. Sure, like I say, we're downtown adjacent. We've got a lot of nonprofits and social service providers. So we do have, some areas where, drug dealers, the predators and the prey, there's a predator-prey relationship going on. People do notice that in specific pockets, and that's something that we're working to address. And because it's a new thing, and it really gives organizations of our size a great way to really reach out. We've gotten a little bit of press on it, and it's been, for the most part good. The one thing is that the press has, they were a little bit ahead of the game. Good for them. They didn't really talk to us about it, so they didn't really understand that we were doing a soft rollout and that we didn't have all the kinks worked out. So unfortunately, the article did talk a little bit about the kinks, which we weren't surprised about, because that's what we were working through at the time. But we've got that under control. But it's a great way to get press on your basic area for the kinds of things that you're doing, and hopefully it's partly about Hello Lamppost, but also it's hopefully a spotlight on the great things that are happening in the community as well. And then, what does our partnership look like going forward? I think is really, undefined. I mentioned, one thing, but I mean, this is just really new for us. And so we're, building the bicycle as we're riding it, to borrow a metaphor there. But there's a lot of excitement about what it can do. I mean, it's, one of our board members asked, it's like, well, why would we do this when I can just go on Google and, say coffee shop near me? And while that's true, there's also not there's a lot beyond that. Like, yes, we can on Hello Lamppost, we can have the coffee. You're in the mood for coffee, a beer, music, a skateboard, whatever. We can, Hello Lamppost can help with all of that. But it can also be educational as well. Or this is how I see it anyway, is like, how are we able to educate people about what bus rapid transit means? What do those initials BRT mean? And so one of the next things that we'll be rolling out is a WTF BRT in order to catch people's eye and explain what that new bus system is. But then also the data that we're collecting that we just highlighted just a moment ago, with a little bit of a snapshot there, that gives us great information about how we can be, it's not in isolation. Isabel mentioned that there's apps and software out there that talks about the kind of the how people are moving throughout your district, and tracking through your cell phone. And then you've got your own types of things. Like Hello Lamppost is like one piece of all of those various different things that you're doing. And so I'm pretty excited about how we're able to build a partnership going forward in ways that I probably am not able to imagine at this point. Really? We're there? Okay.
That's fantastic. Thank you both so much. And Frank, it's also a lot of fun. You mentioned there's a lot of nonprofits in your area. We're one of them. Downtown Colorado Inc. is located in Colfax Ave, and we're really pretty spoiled to be able to walk out of work and go to the Ogden Theater or go to the Fillmore for a show after work. And like you said, so much of the district is walkable. It's really enjoyable being in that space. So we do have some questions, and I've got some things prompted as well during the conversation. But Leslie just chimed in. We've got a question here. So, what is the utilization rate of the app since you started? And could you expand more on how you're able to segment the users, be it visitors or residents or daytime, nighttime?
Well, I think I'll start, Leslie, and then Isabel, really looking for help from you on that. So, the way that we could segment them, I believe, is just in the way that the questions that we ask. How detailed of a question that we're asking to the people that are using the platform. That is one thing, and I imagine Isabel has some more to that. And then the utilization rate, I don't know if I really could. I don't know how to answer that question. And Isabel, do you have any response?
Yeah, I can add in. Um, as far as the utilization rate, I mean, it's hard to give like a number across the board just because every place we work in is so different. It depends on the population, and it depends on what's there, and it depends on how people are arriving and walking through the space. So, I mean, I will say we see very successful engagement rates typically as far as what people are looking for. I think there was a slide where it showed that about 300 people have interacted with the system in Colfax so far, and that has only been up for a few months. So I think as far as being kind of in early stages and still getting the word out that this is a service there, we're pretty happy with that. And I think the Colfax team is as well. I mean, we always craft kind of a plan together to make sure that people do know that this is available to them, and it kind of just continues to grow and snowball over time as well. As far as segmenting people and kind of getting information as far as if they're a resident or a visitor, I mean, there's a few different ways to do that. First of all, since Hello Lamppost is so location based, it gets really interesting as far as, you can see on a map where people are engaging and maybe what questions they have when they're in that space. So on one end of Colfax, people might be wondering about slightly different things than on the other end of Colfax. And you're able to see that on the back end and kind of separate out where people are when they do engage with our system, which I think is really cool. But to learn about folks, it's something that we would walk through together as far as what's the information that you'd like to know and how can we weave that into the conversation. So we might ask straight up, like, are you a resident or a visitor, or something like, where are you from? We could say, what is your zip code? There's a lot of different ways that we can ask this, and kind of part of our team's expertise is wording those things in a way that doesn't just feel like survey questions, and is, again, part of the conversation that they're having overall. So it kind of comes down to, what do you want to know? And we'll weave it in.
Thank you for that. And it kind of speaks to Ella's question, but if I could expand on what she's asking, maybe just a moment too. Was there a point, Frank, where you and the team sat down and thought about what sort of data or responses that you wanted to have available at the beginning? Or how did you come up with both the responses to your anticipated questions, and how was that incorporated into your rollout?
Right. Well, we definitely wanted to get some demographic information. You know, who are the people that are coming to the street? What is the who is being attracted the most, to Colfax? And again, that helps us with not necessarily where we might be doing something wrong per se, but knowing, playing to our strength. We wanted to know whether or not we should continue to play to our strengths, or if there was something to be adjusted. So knowing who's coming to the street for sure. And then also trying to understand what they know about, the area. Like, so, but by virtue of some of the questions that they'll ask, somebody who is coming to Colfax often, doesn't necessarily need to be reminded that the Corner Beat and Doppio are a couple of the coffee shops, or Savaggio. But if we're getting, more questions about something that I would kind of consider a staple of the area, then you start to get a little bit of a, it's a maybe a guide that they don't really know the area, or maybe the Corner Beat needs better signage. So it gives you some sense, to me anyway. It gives some sense, might not give the exact answer that you then need to follow up on. Was that a helpful answer?
Yeah, Ella, if you had any other follow-up to that, feel free to unmute real quick.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. Hi, Frank. I haven't seen you since I worked in Denver and we were working on the neighborhood plan together.
I know, it's good to see you.
So I'm in Wheat Ridge now. I'm really curious. I think that often when we are asking questions, when I'm trying to get information from the public, I feel like there's an element of like, I'm asking you a favor. I need your time and your thought. So I really like this from the perspective of like, there's more of a give and take. I'd really like to hear more about like, what questions do people ask? I'm thinking if I were someone, let's say I'm at the pharmacy and they say, okay, you've got an hour till your thing's ready. I would love to, it'd be cool to scan. I'm wondering a couple questions here. Like, could you put the stickers in different businesses so that I could scan and be like, I have 2 kids. I need a bathroom and a place to get a snack. What's nearby? So thinking of the kind of questions I would ask as someone who doesn't live right there, where does the data for those answers come from? That just seems like a complicated set of information to be able to give people back in chat or text form.
All right. Well, maybe Isabel, we can tag team on this, and I can talk about locations, and maybe you could talk about the second half of the data for the answers. So I really like your example of, the pharmacy or whatever. We have not done anything like that in stores or anything, but we have a couple of thoughts. One of like, can we put them in, perhaps maybe there's like a small index card that could go in the billfold when you get your check at a restaurant, right? And then you could just scan that, right? And it's, on your phone. And while you're paying the bill, you could be providing asking some questions, but also providing some data information. The big whale that we're shooting for right now is in the bus shelters and on the back of seats on the 15 buses and the 15L. But these are the buses that run Colfax and the highest ridership in the city. So if we're able to get them there, then the bus ride, right, then we're getting that audience of transit riders to be providing data of maybe where are they coming from and where are they going and how frequently do they take the bus and their experience on the bus. So that one is, if we're able to get that on, if not on the back of the bus seats, but in the bus shelters or, in those environs, that's going to be huge for us with our bus rapid transit program. But then, as I mentioned earlier, if the more, excuse me, if we can get them a little bit more into the businesses, in either the tents right by the cash register, but that's always tough because there's never a lot of space there, and things like that. That could be really helpful too.
And I
Isabel,
think,
about I was just going to ask Isabel about the data, piece.
Yeah, and to kind of chime in on this part as well, we have done kind of activating businesses themselves in other places. So putting, stickers on the storefront, or maybe if it's an eatery, we have like a little, what is that called? Like a tent thing that you see on like a restaurant table where people can then scan and engage from there. And there's kind of fun ways to like incentivize participation that way. If it's like, hey, chat with me, whatever, learn more, ask your questions, and then you get $1 off your latte next time, or whatever it is, to, again, always be kind of tying it back to your businesses. So definitely lots of possibilities in that realm. But as far as the data, what it looks like is kind of at the beginning of every project. So when we were working with Colfax, we sat down with their team, and again, just identifying what's the information we want to share and the information we want to gather. Since we do work across a lot of business improvement districts, we also kind of have almost a template, if you will, of like, here are the common questions that we always see, so that we can provide a little bit of guidance in that regard as well. But we essentially just ingest all of your existing information. So like, we have Colfax website links, we have their business directories, their event calendar, kind of all of these things, parking information, existing stuff that they had out in the world, and kind of how our system works is it's able to essentially ingest that information and then be able to pull from it when it's prompted. So you don't really have to reinvent the wheel or like create new content. We're kind of just the ones who facilitate that process of taking the information that you have, maybe adding on to it here and there if we need to. But that's what's so cool about our system, is it's able to kind of like take that direction and then pull from the information that we've given it when people are asking those questions.
Great. Well, thank you. And Frank, I'm really glad you mentioned the business owner parking concerns, because that's the first thing that popped into my head when I saw how people arrive. I think that could be, and I think we both experienced that parking is a very emotional issue that's often not swayed by data. However, data that comes from your store could be really interesting. So I think what you guys were talking about with like the table folds, or, if you can say like, these numbers of people who came to your store, not just who happened to take this survey on Colfax, came on foot, I think would be really interesting. So, well, thank you guys.
Great points. Thank you so
Thanks
much,
for
Alex.
coming.
And thanks for the additional questions. We do have a fair number of questions in the chat, so we'll try and move through them, but at least get to them all. Helen, it's great to see you on the call today, and you've got a great question about the potential impact on gentrification or the relocation, or if there's any frustration with the locals participating. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. I used to live in Denver, and as a resident of Washington, D.C. for many years, gentrification was always a topic in economic development. How are we pushing out people that have lived here for generations historically? So I'm always curious what these kind of economic initiatives, it seems like you'd probably get a lot of, more techie. Typically, that's kind of a millennial, age range. And yeah, I love coffee shops. A lot of millennials do. And we saw a lot of that gentrification in Washington, D.C. when I was there. So I'm curious if there's an impact, if you're getting pushback from the nonprofits because of that, or if it's, no, this is actually helpful. It helps us help everyone. I'm just curious more than anything.
And Helen, you're meaning you're meaning not as a result of using Hello Lamppost, but is some of the information that we're getting from Hello Lamppost kind of reflecting a concern about gentrification?
No, I'm actually asking if you're seeing an impact, if not necessarily because of Hello Lamppost, but is the information you're gathering from Hello Lamppost or your initiatives feeding into further economic development that is causing gentrification, or have you found a way this is always the question, right? Is how do we grow but not leave people behind? So have you found that happy medium?
Right.
Or kind of just your thoughts around it? I mean, I know it's always a dance, right?
Right. Well, Helen, you said that you used to live in Denver, so you know that Colfax is really a perfect place, and there's really no problems for the most part, or discord of any sort. But seriously, I'll start with also another unsatisfying answer is that if you were on at the beginning of the call, I mentioned that we were a staff of 3 and we're down 1 staff person, and it's that one vacant staff position that really is the position that would be digging in to all of this to a great deal. So I'm afraid I don't have a really awesome answer for you, but you do raise in my mind that there should be some it would be great to work with Isabel and her team about how we could perhaps measure that, and perhaps there's some collaboration with Historic Denver, who is also offices in our district and in the same building as Downtown Colorado Inc. Maybe there's a way that we could be collaborating on what could be some of those questions, as well as talking with some of the groups that often face displacement. But then and before I turn it over to Isabel to see what her thoughts might be, I'll also end with Colfax has been defined by nothing if not change. It used to be lined with mansions of millionaires, and then there's the next bust, and then the scrappy Colfax nature builds additions onto the front of the mansions in order to have sewing rooms, and on and on and on, and get us to the point of 2022, 2023, where there's a real effort to create Lavender Hill Cultural District, the first LGBTQ, queer cultural district in the city, and the change that is likely to bring there. Like all of these, so change is going to happen. And how is it happening and impacting perhaps the most vulnerable is a really important question that we should be keeping kind of in the forefront. And I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you at this point, but I'm interested in anything Isabel has to offer here.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. I mean, to your point of, technology and being very techy, and how do we grow and be innovative and invite new ideas, but not leave people behind. I think that's a key for us, and that's a key of why we developed kind of our platform the way that we did. And I think it's a really kind of happy medium of being something that's new and interesting, and a use of technology that is providing value for folks, but it's not really that crazy, right? It's like you are just using your phone to either text us or chat with us and get some information. So it's not extremely complicated, or, this techie app where you have to jump through a bunch of hoops and almost like learn a new language that I think, yeah, then you're getting into a whole nother set of kind of barriers to entry and things like that. So that's why we've made, just simple messages the basis of our communications channel, in the hopes that we will not leave anybody behind, and as many people as want to can participate. And on the historical side of things, we do partner with historical districts quite often, and I think one use of Hello Lamppost is definitely trying not to, forget about history and like just move everything, change everything, or gentrificate everything, but actually highlight history and help more people learn about those stories. So we're working with a downtown in Oregon, actually McMinnville. It's pretty small. There's a lot of interesting history there with, people traveling over on the Oregon Trail and all of this stuff. And they have a big statue downtown of Benjamin Franklin. And they have some kind of very historical buildings surrounding that. And so they're using Hello Lamppost to bring those to life and kind of add depth in a new way. So when people visit that downtown, they can chat with Benjamin and kind of hear his story and learn about all of the rich history that there is in that area. It's kind of set up to be a walking trail a little bit. So then they're led through these other historical points, again, along the way, looping it back to the businesses and their resource and all of that stuff. But the goal being to bring the history in and kind of highlight it and have that be the forefront of the experience, rather than forgetting about it and letting that piece go. So that's just an example of, I think, one way that we can try to bring that in.
Thank you, Isabel. We do have a couple questions left here, and only about 5 minutes at the most. So maybe this will be speed round. But Rebecca is asking how the data has been compiled, and I think we've kind of talked about that process, reviewed by the clients, and then also the cost of replacing the signs and where you're putting them. Do you have concerns about stickers and graffiti and that kind of stuff, Frank?
Yeah, we've so the way that we've determined the placement is like where are the places where people are hanging out. So it's like, where do we see people going outside and having a cigarette, right? So there's a light post there, we put up a sign. So where are lines and queues forming? Those are the kinds of places that we want to put down the signs. Now what we're finding is that, I mean, this is Colfax, and one of the things that we love about Colfax is that if people make things happen, and if they want to take down one of our signs with their two steel ratcheted, clamps that hold the sign to the pole, they're going to take it down. But you know what they do? Is they leave it lying against the light pole that they just took it down from. Like, we haven't lost any. We've just had to reattach them to light poles. It's really weird. But bless our Colfax contingent. We're responsible for replacing the signs. We work on the design with Hello Lamppost and get our brand colors on there and everything, and they help us out in that way. But then we're improving and adding more signs on there.
That's great. Thank you. This should be maybe it's a quick one. What is the cost? Can either of you speak to that?
It's a great question, and I would love to chat further with any of you directly who have this question, because it is pretty kind of personalized. There's a lot of different ways that the cost can go up, the cost can go down, so that you understand the structure. It's an annual license model, again, kind of including everything that we've been discussing. It's the experience and kind of the back end that we're building out, all of that setup. We do have an awesome graphic design team for the signs, all the recommendations on locations and sizes and materials. Our marketing team kind of helps with press and getting the word out when we do launch this, as well as kind of that ongoing management and analytics and data and everything on the back end. So there's a lot that's included. And I mean, the ballpark varies, but yeah, I'd love to chat further with any of you, and we can see what's possible.
Thanks. Leslie is asking here, do you see the app users reporting things they experience in the district, or is it more of a customer service model? And this is prompting me to think about, Frank, what you were mentioning about the suggestion for placing a mirror at one of the intersections there in the district. Would you mind speaking to that very quickly?
I'm sorry, it cut out for just a second, Bill. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah. So Leslie's question is, how are people using the app, and are they reporting things that they experience in the district, or is it more of a customer service minded effort? And she's
Right.
unclear about whether the questions prompt folks to engage in certain ways. And it made me think about what you were sharing about adding a mirror to one of the intersections and how you came to that conclusion.
Right. Yeah. No, it can, for sure. I'll start with like, C previous answer of have not dug into the data as much as I'd like to. But what we are seeing is, lots of useful information, including, what Bill is talking about. People don't there's a lot of people that aren't shy about giving their opinions about how things could be better and what they would do differently or whatever. And so we're seeing that in the with the Hello Lamppost as well. Um, so again, we'll get some more coming out of that too. Leslie, sorry for a short answer.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I think it is something that can prompt some very interesting feedback, and I like the idea of having it be low key enough to respond to that. And then finally here, the conversation's based, is it tailored to a specific location, or is it the same throughout the district? And the geolocating technology. Frank, you kind of spoke to this, that you were getting different responses based in different places, like feedback on the perspective of safety. But can either of you speak to that in 1 minute or less?
Yeah, I'll say that, like I can almost, we have not done that yet. I can tell by the responses generally where they might be using Hello Lamppost, but in order to have it like very dialed in to the sign, each QR code would need to be a different QR code that would be pegged to that location. So we haven't done that yet. There's logistical issues there too, right? If the sign was taken down and actually stolen, we would need to print up that same QR code for that same location.
But the answer, Gina, is yes, all of that is possible. It just depends on how you set it up. So sometimes, yeah, you want each location to have very specific information for that location. The Benjamin Franklin statue is a great example of that. He's sharing very specific, pertinent information to him and his story versus, then there's a lamppost down the street that's maybe sharing slightly different information and location specifics. Or we can have it be kind of a general blanket of here's all of the information for Colfax Avenue, no matter where you are. So it's just a decision at the beginning of how we want to set it up.
Awesome. Thank you both. And yeah, I've got an entire list of questions that I was going to ask as well, but I guess that means that this discussion is certainly robust enough that hopefully we can do more of this. If the conversations that we've had here are things that you're interested in seeing more of, please let me know as well, whether it be an email or follow up with us, because we are very much interested in being able to have folks like Frank and Isabel on to talk about these kind of topics, because I know that they're front and center in so many districts around the state and it seems the country. Here's a list of a couple upcoming things that DCI is doing, and we have a very, very busy spring with other webinars going on with some great national experts talking about financing and how to get creative with your capital stack, and also activating your projects and being able to plan to get community engagement and support behind some of your projects that we have going on. And I also need to make a plug for our annual conference coming up. Oop, there we go, April 2 through 5 in Durango, Colorado. So if you are interested in being in person for more of this, Frank, I don't know if we're going to get you there in person, but hopefully one day we can get you at one of these conferences. But if you'd like to be able to do this sort of discussion in person, that'll be a great place for it. It's always a fantastic time. And yeah, that is all of it. But again, so thank you again to Isabel and to Frank for giving us the nitty gritty on Colfax Ave. I really enjoy being a part of that community as well, and I'm really eager to see the advances that come from this kind of mindset of using technology to further engage with the folks. So thank you both for being a part of this presentation. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Bill, for organizing this. Thank you all who made it through to the end. Much appreciated.
Thanks.